Nagato was once an innocent boy. He, Yahiko, and Konan were all innocent. They once had a dream, a simple dream, but the execution of that dream was complicated. The world complicated it. Politics complicated it further, and in the end, what once was a team of well-meaning individuals became a group hunted and corrupted by the very things that they assumed everyone wanted to be free of. It is this part of Nagato that Naruto so easily connects to. Naruto understands the simple dreams, and the desire to make the world a better place, while not yet understanding the way the world works is different than the innocent, naive, and idealistic mind of a child. But what if Yahiko, Nagato, and Konan didn't found the Akatsuki? What if that was Naruto? And what if he brought Sasuke and Sakura along with him to do so? What if the Akatsuki were formed by what we would call Team 7? Let's find out, shall we? Welcome to the Amagi. Only 25% of our viewers are subscribed, so if you're a fan of the video, please like and double check if you are subscribed. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Amagi, the Second Shinobi World War. The fighting had been fierce. It always had been. The three great nations met for war, and they did so in the only place that they were all connected to. A small land where a village of equally diminutive size existed. Amagi. How many times had this village been ravaged by war? How many times had it been destroyed, rebuilt, and destroyed again? Sure, Konoha often sent money to help pay for the damages, but if you asked the people of Ame, they might say it would be better to not destroy anything at all. It didn't matter how much money you sent, everything would keep getting destroyed. Over and over again, the village would be nearly erased, rebuilt, and almost eradicated once again. It was an endless cycle that one could only take so many times. Ame had reached its breaking point, and now Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru knew it. Before them stood Hanzo of the Salamander, riding upon his summons. Surrounding them were the bodies of their comrades. So many people killed by just one man. It was insane how much physical power one man could conglomerate to himself. It was as if this man were born for this moment alone. To humble the great village of Konoha and remind their warriors, you are not invincible. Even the greatest among them, the three students of Hiruzen Sarutobi, were defenseless in the face of this man's might. But despite that, Hanzo was quite gracious, praising them for their standing strong against him. He named them the Sannin and declared that they were worthy of being spared. Of course, Jiraiya saw right through this farce. This was not about sparing promising shinobi. This was a message. This was Hanzo saying, look what I've done. I've killed your greatest shinobi, and the ones you dub as heroes I sent back to you broken, tails between their legs. This was a message to Hiruzen and to Konoha, to any nation and any shinobi who would dare cross into the crying city. The tears of sorrow that fell from the heavens had turned to tears of rage. The most controlled, sharpened, and honed of temper tantrums that would show that Ame was done being everyone's dog to kick around. Any shinobi who would dare enter this village to cause damage would meet annihilation under the heavy hand of the Salamander. And now, the Konoha shinobi were slinking off, planning to do exactly as Hanzo hoped. They were going to tell the world about the might of Hanzo and of Ame, and rightly so. Hanzo truly was a force to be reckoned with. Few existed that could match him, and his strength was such that it felt as though numbers meant nothing to him. It didn't matter to him how many warriors you brought. To Hanzo, 1 + 1 did not equal 2, for in his eyes there were an infinite number of fractions between the number 1 and 2. His might was beyond conventional numbers, and simply adding more bodies to the pile was not how one would defeat him. You needed to be closer to his level to even survive him, let alone win. And that's why Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru were leaving the village now. They were just barely close enough to his level to survive, and for that purpose, Hanzo felt that those who could best explain his strength should be the ones he sends as envoys. And that's what they were. A warning to all around that if you messed with Ame, if you tried to grab the salamander by the tail, it would turn around and bite you. Still coming down from their battle high, the three took a moment to rest. Orochimaru keeping watch, Tsunade doing as she always did, going between the two, seeking any sign of a more serious injury to heal. They would all live, thankfully. Hanzo had made certain of it, and chances were, because they were messengers to the outside world, orders had been sent out to let them live. Jiraiya was adamant that they could simply walk right out the front door, straight through the Ame camps and not suffer any consequences. But little did they know, they were being followed. It seemed that they were not the only ones left awestruck by Hanzo's power. At first, Orochimaru and Tsunade were ready to attack, but at this point, Jiraiya was so weary from the war that he simply could not muster the strength to get scared. And because of that, he didn't have to worry about the feelings of panic that came when a new set of sounds emerged from a cave. "Calm down, you two," Jiraiya said. "Can't you tell? Those footsteps aren't heavy enough to be an adult." It was just about then that a boy in an orange jumpsuit walked out from behind a wall. "You guys really are good if you could detect us." "You're an idiot, Naruto. How do you know they're not going to kill us?" Sasuke said as he too appeared, his Sharingan blazing in anticipation of a possible fight. From behind the two, hiding in their shadow, a girl in pink appeared. Jiraiya began scratching his chin. "Is that the Sharingan?" he asked. "What's it to ya?" Sasuke asked. "Well, nothing, I guess. It's just rare to see one of those dojutsu way out here. Are you a part of the Uchiha clan?" he asked. Sasuke remained silent. "How did you three get out here?" Jiraiya asked. Naruto rested his hands behind his head as he took a relaxed stance, as if reclining. "What do you mean? How did you three get to Ame?" Jiraiya asked. "We were born here," Naruto said. Jiraiya was confused. "Are you three GI babies?" "No," Naruto said through an awkward chuckle. "We were born here the same as anyone else. Our parents were regular people but died during the war, and so we decided to band together. You're more likely to survive in a team. I mean, look at you guys. You're living proof. If being in a team can help you survive Lord Hanzo, then I'm sure it can get us through hard times," Naruto said. "So you're orphans. How unfortunate. I suppose you're hungry." "Damn straight," Naruto said. Jiraiya began to pull some food out and handed it over to them. They took it quickly. Naruto and Sakura handed their food to Sasuke, who stared at it deeply with his Sharingan. "It's clean," he said. Jiraiya was surprised by how efficient their teamwork was. "Did you follow us just to ask for food?" he questioned. "Not really," Naruto said. "We wanted to follow you because we had a question for you." "And that question is? Can you teach us how to be shinobi?" Jiraiya was a little shocked. Tsunade and Orochimaru looked at the three kids before looking at each other with equal parts shock and confusion. Jiraiya was neither of those things. He simply smiled. "I don't know if that's such a good idea, kiddos. We gotta learn how to survive somehow, and who better to teach us than real ninja? You guys are specialized in survival, right?" "It's true that we're specialized in both exotic and urban warfare, including the survival aspects of it, but I don't think you kids are gonna want everything we can teach you." "Not that we even have the time," Tsunade stated. Orochimaru nodded. "So you're just gonna leave us out in the cold?" "Pretty much," Orochimaru said as he continued looking out the cave. "We could put you out of your misery if you prefer." To that, Sasuke's stance noticeably widened, as though to offer a better spring for running or better traction for defending. The girl, on the other hand, shrunk smaller into the shadows. Naruto remained undaunted. "Frankly, if you don't want to teach us, we can't make you. But all the same, we're gonna spend every waking moment training to be shinobi. We're gonna make this world a better place." "Foolishness," Orochimaru said with a shake of his head. Jiraiya, however, was not so sure. There was no telling what a group of three could do. So many things were considered foolishness, and yet were achieved by the Sannin. Maybe these three could achieve it as well. "I'll teach you," Jiraiya said. Orochimaru and Tsunade both turned to look at him in shock. "You're crazy." "Really?" both of his compatriots exclaimed at the same time. Jiraiya raised his hands. "To be honest, we have kinda destroyed these kids' homes. Their parents are very likely dead because of us. I feel like I owe them." "By those standards, you owe everyone, Jiraiya," Tsunade said. "There's no way you can pay the whole world back." Jiraiya nodded. "That's true, but all the same, I feel like I ought to do this, to at least offer a little recompense. These kids need help, and I don't want to leave them high and dry, or, I guess, wet." As he said this, he motioned to the continual downpour outside the cave. "Well, I do," Tsunade said. Jiraiya shook his head. "No, you don't. I know you, Sue. But all the same, I'm not actually asking for you three to stay with me. You've got an important job right now, and that's taking the message back home to Konoha. For me, I feel like my place is here. The old Toad Sage once told me that my job was to train up the next generation, and that whoever I trained up would end up bringing peace to the world. I see something in these kids that reminds me of those words vividly. I feel like I have to. Tsunade couldn't argue with the great sages. They were always so wise, and if Jiraiya felt required to stay behind for that reason, then how could she stop him? Just be careful, she said. Orochimaru echoed her statements. Not much longer after that did Tsunade and Orochimaru leave the village, leaving Jiraiya behind to train the three children. Finding an old derelict house that had been ravaged by war, Jiraiya began the process of salvaging the structure and proceeding to rebuild what had been destroyed. Once the house was ready, he began to set up everyone's rooms. For the most part, Jiraiya had thought to train the three only in the survival aspects of being a shinobi, but to say he was conflicted about it was an understatement. It was also foretold that when the Child of Prophecy appeared, it was up to Jiraiya to teach them well. Regardless of Jiraiya's involvement, the child would lead a revolution across the world, but the nature of that revolution would be determined by Jiraiya's actions. But were these kids really the children of prophecy foretold by the Toad Sage so long ago? Jiraiya would soon find his answer. It was a sticky summer day. For the first time in a while, it stopped raining. Summers were always rough in Ame, especially on the days where it wasn't raining. The high humidity raised the perceived temperature quite a bit. This didn't stop Sasuke and Naruto from training, however. Being boys, it was no big issue for them to simply ditch the shirt and continue. And normally, this would mean nothing for Jiraiya, but he did notice something peculiar about Naruto. Spiraling out from his navel, he had a black mark, surrounded by sealing formula. This caught Jiraiya's attention immediately. Having been many places in this world, having fought with many warriors, including the Uzumaki, he understood that this mark was very special. It was the symbol of the 8 trigram seal, a special seal that was made up of 2 4-symbol seals that, if not properly overlapping, would result in whatever energy had been put inside of him to slowly leak out and merge with the chakra of the user. The seal was unusual to find here, and its purpose was an even greater mystery. As dinner time came through and they all sat down for a meal, Jiraiya was sure to mention it. I noticed something today, Naruto. You've got a very strange mark on your belly. What's it for? Delinquency, Sasuke stated with a smile, causing Sakura to laugh, even drawing a smirk from Naruto. Haha, very funny, Jiraiya said with minorly amused sarcasm. But for real, Naruto, what is it? I think it's a birthmark, he said. I've had it for as long as I can remember. I assumed that's why they called me Naruto. I look like one of those fish cakes with a swirl on it. I can promise you that's not a birthmark, Jiraiya said. I've seen it before. It's called an 8 trigram seal. It's a technique passed down within the Uzumaki clan. Do you have any Uzumaki family or friends? Naruto wasn't sure. How would I know, he asked. Well, for instance, they tend to have scarlet-colored hair. You mean like red? Naruto asked. Jiraiya nodded. Do you know anyone with that? Naruto nodded. Yeah, my mom had red hair before she died. Things were making sense to Jiraiya. Yeah, it seems like your mom was an Uzumaki, and she must have branded you with the 8 trigram seal. But why, I wonder? Would you say there's anything strange about your chakra? Any foreign energy sources, anything? Naruto shrugged. Jiraiya thought deeply on this. It could simply be that Naruto hasn't crossed the border yet, he thought to himself. He might not even notice its power until he calls it up for the first time. But the real question is what could possibly be sealed inside of him? If something were sealed, I could understand, but that's not some regular seal. That's heavy duty. That's less of a storage seal like you'd find in scrolls, and more like an imprisoning seal you'd find on one housing an evil spirit. As they finished eating, Jiraiya continued to think. As they sat there, smiles on their faces, talking about the things they enjoyed, Jiraiya was in no way engaging with the conversation. That was until Naruto caught Jiraiya's attention. Huh? Jiraiya asked. Naruto restated the question. We were wondering what you think our chakra natures are. Do you have any of that paper on you? Jiraiya shook his head. Sadly, I don't, but in ages past, we didn't care about what our natural chakra affinity was. We just chose a style we liked and practiced until it was perfect. Sometimes it was easy, sometimes it was hard. But in the grand scheme of things, if it's a shinobi's desire to truly master their own energy, then learning all 5 basic natures, as well as yin and yang, is integral to maximizing your repertoire. It takes forever to do, but it shouldn't be that hard. Jiraiya then looked at Sasuke. That being said, if you possess the Sharingan, then you're likely descended from the Uchiha in some way. If those genes are dominant in you, then I'd venture to believe that you're a natural fire release user. I'd suggest starting with that one to get a grip on the basics. Looking at the others, he shrugged. Sorry, I don't really know what chakra natures are common to you guys. So just choose a jutsu type you like and pound out the practice. Sakura and Naruto nodded. As they rose from the table to leave, Jiraiya reached out and took Naruto's hand. "Wait, Naruto," he said. "Stay with me a bit longer. I'd like to try something." Naruto would slowly turn back to his seated position. Jiraiya watched as the others left. They were no doubt off to begin practicing their jutsu. Jiraiya had told them nothing. Their own drive was enough to cause them to study. At this point, Jiraiya was nothing more than a glorified babysitter. Maybe I should be teaching them, he thought. They seem to be heading that direction without me anyway. Returning his gaze to Naruto, he spoke. "That 8-trigram seal you have. Normally it's used to seal something powerful. It's not used lightly. If you have something powerful within you, it's paramount we figure out what it is to ensure you don't accidentally let it out. Better yet, you might be able to use it. But to check, I need to fuse some of my chakra with yours. Would you be alright if I did that?" Naruto nodded. "Sure, feel free. I always wondered why I had it. If you can figure that out, maybe it'll help me feel closer to my mom." Jiraiya let off a subtle, melancholic smile. Placing his hand upon Naruto's forehead, he closed his eyes and began to concentrate. Feeling his own chakra flow out and into Naruto, merging with his and traveling the pathway system, Jiraiya was looking for any leaks. Considering the placement of the seal, Jiraiya began to move his chakra. The stomach was where the vast majority of one's chakra was located, and if something powerful was to be sealed and hidden, the best place to do so was there. As Jiraiya drove his chakra to that position, he felt as though he entered a large cavern, filled with a sort of water that possessed an almost electric charge to it, yet did not make him feel damp. It was as if this energy were all forms of matter, from solid to liquid to gaseous to even plasma. It always amazed Jiraiya when he deeply examined chakra, as he could never truly understand it with the knowledge he had. However, what was most important right now wasn't considering the functions of chakra and its powers, but instead focusing on finding any foreign energy signatures, besides himself, of course. As his chakra moved about, he felt what seemed to be the seal. It was like a gate, or a set of crossing chains held closed by a lock that appeared to be bleeding from the keyhole. Or at least that's how Jiraiya's mind considered it. The blood had an orange glow to it, like molten metal. This was a new chakra source, and it wasn't Naruto's, and it most definitely wasn't his own. Jiraiya reached out to touch it. The moment he did, though, he saw the spectral face of a fox roaring in his ear. Pulling back in terror, Jiraiya opened his eyes to see the shocked and concerned face of Naruto staring back at him. "What's wrong, Jiraiya-sensei?" Naruto asked. Jiraiya sat there for a moment, catching his breath. Taking a deep breath in, he held it for a moment, finding his center. He then let the oxygen back out and smiled. Nothing. I was just taken off guard for a moment." "What did you see in there?" he asked. Jiraiya wasn't sure if he could really tell Naruto right now. "Ask me about it later," Jiraiya said as he stood. "Now how about you go and join your friend's study group? What chakra nature should I attempt to learn? Whichever one you like the most. Just stay in the 5 basic natures, and maybe yin and yang releases." Naruto nodded and ran off. Jiraiya had a lot to think about. And as the night came, and he was to sleep, he couldn't help but think about what he saw. "I'm adamant," he thought to himself. "That was the Nine Tails, but why does Naruto have it? The Nine Tails was lost to Konoha years ago. Its location hidden from us after the untimely death of its previous Jinchuriki. But what's it doing out here in Ame? Does Hanzo know about this? Surely not. If he did, he wouldn't have left Naruto to wander the streets." Jiraiya began to think about what the best course of action was. He could take Naruto back with him to Konoha. That would probably result in Naruto's execution, though, if he was deemed unfit to be the Nine Tails' Jinchuriki. But if he left Naruto here, and Hanzo discovered it, or heavens forbid any other nation found out, there could be a problem. The longer Jiraiya thought, the more something became clear to him. He knew what he had to do. The next day, everyone was up bright and early, testing out their ninjutsu skills. Sakura decided to focus on medical ninjutsu, as Sasuke and Naruto focused on fire and wind release, respectively. The two of them thought it was a great idea, as fire and wind release joint attacks were very potent. But as they continued, Jiraiya called Naruto over. "What is it?" Naruto asked. Jiraiya spoke. "I have something important to talk to you about, and it has to do with what I found behind your seal last night. Was the nine-tailed demon fox. Do you know what that is?" Jiraiya asked. Naruto shook his head. "Well, there are a lot of creatures out there, but among the top of the food chain in this world are the tailed beasts. There are 9 of them in total, each with a different number of tails.
However, at the apex of their order, there's one that stands above all others, and that is the Ninetales. He's the strongest of them all, a massive kaiju-sized monster that possesses a nearly limitless supply of chakra. It's a powerful creature that was once held by my home village of Konoha alone. But years ago, we lost track of it after an unfortunate accident occurred with the last Jinchuriki. It must have regenerated, and whoever found it must have sealed it into you, Jiraiya said. Wow, that's strong. But what does it mean? Naruto asked. It means you have the power of the most powerful creature in the world. You have the potential to be the most powerful shinobi to ever exist, surpassing even Hanzo and the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, in power. Naruto's eyes widened. Really? That's amazing. Jiraiya seemed a bit concerned. That being said, my village would stop at nothing to get this beast back from you, and your village and all the other surrounding villages would do the same. As a shinobi of Konoha, it would be my duty to bring you back with me. Naruto seemed confused before panic began to set in. But what about Sasuke and Sakura? You can't do this. Jiraiya waved him down. Calm your britches, Naruto. I'm not turning you in. Naruto seemed to slowly relax. Jiraiya then began to speak. I know it would be my duty, but honestly, I've received a prophecy from the Toad Sage saying that one of the students I train is destined to bring peace to the world. Considering the perfection of our meeting, I'm almost tempted to ask if you believe in gravity. Fate has drawn us together with the gravity of destiny, and I feel like it's for a reason. And for that reason, I've decided I'm going to teach you how to utilize that power, he said. Naruto seemed to calm, his muscles loosening as he finally processed that Jiraiya was truly worthy of his trust. I won't fail you, Jiraiya-sensei, Naruto said. And so, Jiraiya began to train Naruto specifically in this, sprinkling it in alongside the other techniques that he taught the whole group. If Naruto was that child of destiny, then he would need to have a strong support group, and both Sasuke and Sakura were perfect for it. But the special lessons only for Naruto consisted of deep meditation, emotional and mental control, and chakra control. Jiraiya taught Naruto how to delve deeper into his subconscious and how to awaken more and more of the Ninetales' power. Naruto had a very, very hard time awakening his version 2 cloak, and he found that the power of the Ninetales at current was far too unruly for him to handle. And for that purpose, Naruto elected to focus more on the version 1 cloak. And despite that handicap, Jiraiya felt that the raw power of the Ninetales was plenty enough to make up for the lack of mastery that allowed for higher versions of the form. And for that purpose, Naruto was allowed to continue training. All the while, Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura began to question what it was they would do with themselves after they finished their training. It became the opinion of all involved that instead of joining any one nation, they would instead become their own shinobi, forming their own group dedicated to the well-being of all nations and villages, aligned with nobody, helpers of everybody, defenders of the weak, peacekeepers, and peacemakers. They would be the new dawn that rose upon this dark world to dispel the clouds of doom. They would be the Akatsuki Rising. Jiraiya found this name to be perfect for their little group and supported their decision wholeheartedly. Eventually, though, the time would come that Jiraiya would have to go home. He had completed his mission. He had taught these children everything he knew, and they absorbed it all like little sponges. And now, the years having passed, they were older, taller, and stronger than before. From orphans to fully fledged shinobi. It was perfect. Together, they four had one final meal before saying goodbye. Don't be sad, he said. We will meet again. Just you wait. And from there, they each signed out for the final time, ready to leave their little home behind. As the sun sat before them, the last inklings of sunlight gave off a faint green glow, as if it were a promise that it would soon return to shine upon a new day. A day they would forge together. And that's where I'm going to call it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Originally, it was Nagato's Rinnegan that gave Jiraiya pause long enough to think that he might be the child of prophecy. But Naruto had no Rinnegan, so I had to come up with something else. Thankfully, that wasn't too hard. I'm pleased with how it turned out. But that being said, I crave to see where this story will go from here, and I'm sure you do as well. If so, let us know in the comments what you'd like to see in our next video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to be notified about our newest videos as they drop. And check out these other great videos from our channel. Anyway, until next time, peace out.